For the best viewing experience, please turn up your device brightness. Closed captioning is available in the video settings, and the audio-described tour version and transcript for the tour are available on our website at nps.gov/cave. Depending on your device and viewing platform, you may be able to navigate the scene with your cursor or utilize the virtual reality feature and navigate by rotating. If you would like a more immersive at-home cave experience, feel free to set your temperature to 56 degrees Fahrenheit, turn out the lights, and run a humidifier. On behalf of the rangers at Carlsbad Caverns National Park, thank you for visiting us virtually, and welcome to the cave.
Compared to our busy daily lives, caves seem to be frozen in time, yet they change and develop just like your favorite tree. Carlsbad Cavern has been in existence for all of human history, and that only scratches the surface of this cave's story. Hear Ranger Jane discuss how much time is embodied in these formations.
Here in the Queen's Chamber, I want to take a moment to appreciate this space, and maybe think about why Jim White chose to name this whole area after royalty. People are always fascinated by the things that are great and ancient. But we also like to see things that are familiar, even in unfamiliar places, and caves are pretty unfamiliar. But besides the formations looking like man-made objects that we may know, they can also resemble natural processes. Caves are one of the few places where you can see rocks grow. They can grow as if they have a life and a history, and if we were to chop one down, it would look like something we know quite well on the surface: the inside of a tree. While these rings do not count individual years, scientists do believe that they are counting times that a formation was growing quickly and then slowing down, growing quickly and then slowing down. Right now, with the dry desert climate above the cave, growth has slowed down to a point where only about 5% of the formations are actively growing. For faster growth, the cave would need a lot more water in its system, and the last time the cave would have been nearly 100% active would have been during a period of glaciation. So, scientists believe that what we are seeing in these rings are the coming and passing of ice ages, the advancing and receding of the polar caps. And in formations of about this size, they count 5 glaciations, representing nearly 600,000 years of time. So really, every cave formation is a monument to time. If I say to you that this formation is 500,000 years old, those are just words. We can't really understand or feel what 500,000 years is, but here we can see it. However, if this cave were to be in its truly natural state, would we be able to see any formations at all?
Secluded by darkness, a cave's grandeur has the potential to be unappreciated. However, when that veil was lifted at Carlsbad Caverns, it created an illusion which has drawn a global audience. Compare the Queen's Chamber that you just saw to the new perspective Ranger Jane is about to share.
Very seldom in our lives do we experience true darkness. In our modern world, we are surrounded by light in the form of street lamps, headlights, and digital screens of every kind. But here, in this cave, its natural state is true and total darkness. And I want you to take a moment to consider exactly how long this room has been dark. Even if we fast forward through the geologic story of this cave, the acid burning in the cavities, the water dripping in, even if we fast forward to the point where the cave formations could be recognizable to how we know them today, even from that point until right now, you have the discovery of fire and the invention of agriculture, the first written languages in ancient Mesopotamia, the Egyptian Empire, ancient Greece, ancient Rome, feudalism and the divine right of kings, the Renaissance, founding of Jamestown, the founding of Plymouth, the American Revolution, and the American Civil War. And this cave is still dark. Until maybe a 16-year-old boy with a lantern he made himself stepped into this chamber for the first time, shining the first light to ever touch this room. Can you imagine those first few decades? Jim coming down here with just a few people at a time? He didn't really get to see the cave the way we get to see it now. He could see basic outlines and shapes. He could tell by the echo of his voice that he was in a large chamber. But he couldn't see it in the detail that we do. Even the ceiling seems to disappear into darkness. Despite Jim spending many years exploring this place, he probably did not see the cave in any appreciable way until Ray Davis set off his first flash photograph in 1917. Jim recalled that the photographer took a couple of dozen pictures before we'd gone a mile, and bellyached the rest of the day because he hadn't brought more films. When they returned to the surface, they had hard evidence that this place really existed. After that, everything changed. Jim recorded that he could hardly keep up with the amount of people who wanted to see this place, thanks to Davis's photographs. The cave eventually became a national monument in 1923, and about 7 years later, it was officially designated by Congress as a national park on May 14th, 1930.
Names have power. Names give meaning to something. They create a story, and the story lends weight to the name's illusion of grandeur. Join Ranger Virginia at the Eternal Kiss Formation and hear a behind-the-scenes story about one of the park's more famous formations.
As we enter the King's Palace for the second time, we stop next to the Eternal Kiss. This formation has an interesting story to its name. In the 1980s, there was a heated debate amongst the park rangers. Do the formations touch or not? Someone from Cave Resources took a rope and climbed up the formation like a telephone pole climber. Once they reached the top of the formation, they were still uncertain if the formations touched or not. Story goes that they removed their driver's license from their wallet and slipped it between the two formations. At the time, New Mexico's driver's license were about as thick as a laminated piece of cardstock. I wonder, should we change the formation's name to Frustrated Lovers? What do you think? Should we change the name?